Well, what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be editing this photograph here. Well, actually, this is the edited version, as you can tell. But yeah, what we're going to do is we're going to take it down to the plain Jane raw file. And we're going to start from scratch. And I'm going to kind of show you a little tutorial and kind of reasons why I do specific things to my photographs to kind of make them pop a little bit more. So yeah, let's get into it. Alright, so I usually do use a lot of the VSCO presets. Can't say I'm a fan of every single one of them, but you know, I don't actually use very specific ones. I just kind of scroll through and kind of see in this little window here which one, you know, kind of catches my eye and kind of go with that and kind of tweak it a little bit to my style and standards. So let's see there. So you got Kodak Portrait 800++, kind of has a nice little fade to it, adds a nice little softness to the image. A lot of grain to it, kind of like that, but you know what, I don't really like fucking with grain, so let's get that out of there completely. So there's a lot of nice olive tones in here, there's a little bit of yellow there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of tone down the saturation of the yellow, kind of bring in the blues a little bit more. Maybe switch up, oh shit. Let's give it that acid wash jean jacket look. Alright, so that overall looks pretty nice. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to crop this down just a little bit. Kind of bring her eyes to the row thirds a little bit. Maybe that was a little bit too much. Let's see here. A little bit more headspace. Alright, there we go. I guess that looks pretty good. Alright, good. So now that we kind of got her in the middle there. Alright, so what we're going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of a vignette. I'm going to feather it to 100%, roundness. I'm going to bring it in a little bit more, bring it into a little bit more of a midpoint. That looks a little nicer. Now, I add vignetting just because it kind of adds a little bit more of an element of pop. Kind of brings it more in towards the face rather than kind of, you know, the surrounding backgrounds. So kind of looking at the difference there, you kind of start to notice that, you know, everything's pretty bright, but as soon as you bring it into that midpoint, you start to see your face pop a little bit more, so the highlights are really nice around the face. Alright, so yeah, I'd say that looks a little bit better. Now, obviously the vignette's a little bit heavy down here. Not to worry, I usually kind of, you know, go around with the brush tool and I mess around with the highlights and kind of, you know, brighten up some areas that, you know, I think need brightening up. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to focus on the face now. So the face is a little bit orange, right? Kind of got a little bit more warmer tones here with the reds and all that stuff. So what we're going to do is we're just going to tone down the face a little bit, kind of bring it down to the natural skin tone. Now what I'm doing with the reds is I'm kind of trying to match the tone of her face. It was a pretty cold day, so she kind of had a little bit more rosy red cheeks, and her lips and everything were a little bit more red than they should have been needed to be. So I kind of like to bring it down just a little bit, bring it to that nice highlight zone. Still got a little bit of redness over here, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the tool, Command O, so I can paint it. For that to come in. Good. Alright, awesome. Alright, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to just take down the warmth of it a little bit. Bring up the exposure just a teensy bit. Right down. See what that looks like. Yeah, it looks a little better. Give me one sec. There we go. Perfect. Alright, awesome. So, face looks pretty nice. It's really good. There's nothing really much I need to do. I usually do like to kind of, you know, soften up the edges of the skin just so therefore it makes it look a little bit more appealing. course, obviously, you can take the healing tool and kind of, you know, clone stamp any blemishes on anybody's faces if you want. There's not too much to work off, so that's good. All right, awesome. So far, so good. All right. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna soften the skin just a little bit, right? I don't like to work with like negative 100 clarity. I like to usually kind of work around the 50 to 65%. Good stuff. All right, there we are. So just what we're going to do is we're just going to soften up the details of the face. Not too much. Don't want to sand her face off. Want to have a little bit more detail in there just so it looks a little natural. What you do is you just mess with the clarity a little bit. Want to see what you feel is best. Bring down that sharpness a little bit. Bring up the clarity. There we are. Good. We'll go to a new layer. Focus on the forehead. Now, if you want to see what areas you're painting, you just hit Command O, and it'll mask it out, and it'll show you the actual area of where you're actually using the brush. So if you want to just kind of, you know, go down the forehead just a little bit and just focus on that, right? Then you just hit Command O again, and then you can focus and kind of see what, you know, you're messing around with. So that looks good. I kind of like a little bit more detail in the face, right? Don't want to make it too smooth because then it just looks completely fake, and you know, that's just not my style. Now, one thing I always like to focus on is the eyes. So what I do is I go over here and use the selective tool. Really go nice and close into the eyes. Something very plain and easy to do. You don't have to do this. This is just a little thing I like to do. Invert the mask. And then everything you're editing is just within this little circle here. Don't want negative clarity, so bump that up a little bit. So what you do is you just bump up the exposure of the eyes. You know, make them a little more poppy than they should be. Right there, bump up that clarity. Good. I'd say that looks nice. Awesome. And go over here. This one you don't need to focus on with the selective tool. This one you could just kind of, you know, dodge a little bit. Just like that area. Brighten up. A little more clarity. Good. That looks nice. Awesome. Alright. Now the fun part. Now, a lot of the times I usually like to kind of, you know, bump up the clarity, mess around with some midtones. Hey, even switch the hair color, you know, whichever one you feel better with. Looks a little dramatic. Let's see here. Yeah, we'll go with that. That looks nice. All right, good stuff, good stuff. All right, so now we're going to be bringing in some gradients. So what we're going to do is we're just going to bring that down there, kind of create a little bit more of a highlight. Just going to darken up that edge over there, bring it in a little bit more to the face, and bring another gradient over there. Now everything within these pillars here is the gradient. So obviously it goes from darker to lighter, so the bigger these areas are, the lighter it's going to be, right? So usually I like to kind of have it halfway onto the face, so therefore it looks a little bit more natural. And try to make sure that they cross between each other, right? Especially in the top part of the head, so therefore you don't have to have 3 of these. Just gonna darken that up a little bit. Good, 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 good. So obviously the jean jacket looks a little dark down here. So what I like to do is I usually like to take the dodging tool. I'm gonna paint around the jacket, make that denim pop a little bit more. Good, just like that. Hey man, how's it going? exit out of that. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bump up the clarity a little bit. I'm going to bump up the exposure too as well, and give it a little bit more of a poppy look. All right, good. So far, so good. Let's mess around with saturation just a little bit more. There we go. Hey. Now, on my previous images, I've always kind of, taken the yellows and bumped them down all the way to kind of give it like almost like a pink tone to it. So you can almost give like everyone's hair like almost like a silverish pink tone to it. On my previous images, I actually ripped down the yellows and the hues just so therefore I can get this look, and then I just took the actual dodging tool and made the hair silver. In this case, I kind of like the blonde, kind of gives it that warm fall look, so I want to kind of keep it there and kind of keep the tones nice and olive. I always like to crush my greens, make them look almost like emerald, right? You kind of start to see them there in the background. So you just kind of mess around with them. You don't even have to have them at all if you don't want to. Bring down the luminance. All right. Just gonna do one last dodge. Boom. Alright, and there you have it, guys. So now that's pretty much a simple tutorial on kind of how I edit with my portraits, right? Something like this is a little less, a little less editing on it, right? Because there's not too many elements that I need to work with. Obviously on such as an image like this, or such as this, right? You can kind of start to see the heavy difference in editing, right? Start to see that going from such a heavy, harsh orange and olive type scenery to something like this where it's pretty almost like, I'd say it's kind of more like a silverish pink tone to it. So it kind of adds a different feel and a different mood. Something like this kind of gives off that like almost twilight feel, which is kind of what I like to go for nowadays. Hey, if you guys ever have any questions at all, drop a comment, subscribe, and you know what, add me on Facebook, and follow me on Instagram. But till then, thank you very much, guys.